Ladies and gentlemen, the circus has officially rolled into town, and guess who's holding the whip? None other than 50 Cent, the undisputed king of clapbacks, the overlord of pettiness, the man who can take a simple emoji, a sarcastic smirk, or even a side-eye and turn it into a global headline. For years, we've watched him dominate beefs, shade rivals with surgical precision, and clown his enemies so badly they disappear from the spotlight altogether. But this time, the chaos wasn't happening on Instagram. It wasn't a tweet. It wasn't some backstage gossip whispered on shady blogs. No, this was blood, sweat, and fury, happening live in public, with cameras recording every gasp, every cringe, and every outburst from 10 different shaky iPhone angles. What we witnessed wasn't just another piece of hip-hop drama, it was a full-blown explosion that exposed fault lines of loyalty, betrayal, and reputation that have been simmering in the culture for years. Picture the scene. Easy the Block Captain, once hailed as Remy Ma's protege and the future of battle rap, stood center stage. But he wasn't delivering bars, he wasn't spitting fire. Instead, he was delivering a dagger straight to Remy Ma's reputation. In front of a packed crowd with all eyes on him, Easy publicly dumped her. Not in a private DM, not in some vague subliminal freestyle, not even behind the safety of closed doors. No. He humiliated her where humiliation thrives the most under the bright stage lights, with an audience gasping, recording, and instantly uploading. He didn't just walk away from her. He annihilated her credibility in a single moment, leaving her frozen in shock as the crowd's murmurs turned into a roar. And before the hashtags could even start trending, before the memes could flood Twitter, in stormed 50 Cent not walking, but charging like a grenade with legs, ready to detonate. But here's the question we have to ask. Why would Easy pull a stunt like this? Why would he torch his own career in front of thousands? Why would 50 Cent, a man who prides himself on controlling the narrative, lose control in such a public way? And most importantly, what does this scandal reveal about loyalty, betrayal, and the shaky foundation of hip-hop's so-called power couples? Because this isn't just drama. This isn't just gossip. This is scorched earth chaos, and if you've been paying attention, you'll know scandals like this don't just appear out of thin air. They brew, they simmer, and then, when the timing is perfect, they explode. To really understand how we got here, we have to rewind. Easy the Block Captain wasn't some random kid who lucked into the spotlight. He was handpicked, groomed, and co-signed by Remy Ma. And if you know anything about Remy, you know her co-sign isn't cheap. She's not just a rapper, she's a battle-tested veteran, a woman who carved her place in hip-hop through grit, skill, and the kind of resilience most artists only dream about. When Remy stepped out of prison and back into the industry, she didn't just rebuild her career, she built a platform. And on that platform, she chose Easy. She defended him against doubters. She pushed his name into conversations he had no business being in yet. She practically carried him on her back when the battle rap world questioned whether he belonged. That's loyalty. Or, depending on who you ask, that's the kind of blind faith that sets you up for betrayal. And this is where the whispers began. Long before the night of humiliation, people were already talking. Fans, blogs, and industry insiders claimed Remy and Easy's relationship wasn't just professional. They said it was personal, too personal. Rumors spread that she was inseparable from him. Others went further, suggesting she was risking her marriage to Papoose, a man who stood by her during her darkest days. For this young protege, did Remy ever confirm it? Of course not. But in the world of hip-hop gossip, denial isn't protection. Denial is fuel. And every time she vouched for Easy, every time she stood by him, the whispers got louder. The speculation didn't die down, it multiplied. So when Easy took the stage that night and didn't just distance himself from her but publicly humiliated her, it wasn't just a betrayal, it wasn't just a breakup. It was the live-action demolition of everything she'd built around him. The audience didn't just see a man rejecting a woman. They saw a protege cutting ties with his mentor, a student humiliating his teacher, and possibly a lover exposing his partner. That kind of public betrayal doesn't just sting, it scars. And then came the wild card, 50 Cent. Now, if you followed hip-hop for the last 2 decades, you already know 50 doesn't play supporting roles in scandals. He's either the puppet master pulling strings behind the scenes, the commentator clowning from the sidelines, or the nuclear weapon detonating right in the middle of the chaos. On this night, he was the nuclear weapon. Eyewitnesses claim that the second Easy's words hit the air, you could see 50's entire demeanor shift. That infamous smirk vanished. The playful energy evaporated. In its place, a fury so sharp it made security guards sweat. One fan described it like this: "It was like watching a bomb detonate in slow motion." Easy said it. The crowd gasped. And then boom. 50 stood up and stormed toward the stage. And here's the thing, 50 Cent doesn't do anything halfway. If he wanted to, he could have trolled Easy from Instagram the next morning. He could have dropped a meme, a petty caption, maybe even a cryptic post that left the internet guessing. But this time was different. This time, he erupted in real time. Eyewitnesses described him pointing fingers, shouting threats, even shoving security aside to get closer. Some say he didn't lay hands on Easy. Others claim he nearly did. But the truth doesn't even matter because by the time the footage hit social media, the internet had already turned it into legend. The perception was clear. 50 Cent had lost control, and Easy was his target. And as always, the internet wasted no time. Within minutes, Twitter was filled with clips captioned, "Easy ends Remy live and 50 about to end 2 careers at once." TikTok exploded with reaction edits. Instagram feeds flooded with shaky backstage footage of security holding 50 back. Some clips were clearly real, others were clearly fake, but none of that mattered. In the digital age, perception is everything, and the perception here was brutal. Easy had humiliated Remy, and 50 Cent wasn't going to let it slide. But that wasn't all. Almost immediately, shady blogs began posting supposed leaked texts. Screenshots circulated of Easy telling a friend, "I can't be tied to her anymore. She's bad for me. Watch what I do next." Were they authentic? Probably not. But in the world of gossip, fake receipts often spread faster than the truth. And every new rumor, every new leak, only added gasoline to the fire. Suddenly, this wasn't just a story about a protege betraying his mentor. It was about a man torching his own career, a woman losing her credibility, and a hip-hop titan threatening to unleash chaos. And then, at the center of it all, was Remy Ma herself. Witnesses said her face told the entire story. First, shock, then disbelief, and finally, fury. This wasn't an external attack, like the beefs she survived in the past. This wasn't the media painting her in a bad light. This was betrayal from someone she handpicked, someone she defended, someone she built up with her own 2 hands. Easy's rejection wasn't just personal. It was professional suicide for both of them. You can't undo a public dumping. You can't erase the footage. And you sure as hell can't stop 50 Cent from turning it into a global spectacle. Because once 50 got involved, the narrative shifted entirely. This wasn't just Easy humiliating Remy anymore. This was 50 stepping into the ring, dragging the scandal into a whole new dimension. So where does that leave everyone now? Easy the block captain may have wanted to prove his independence, to step out of Remy's shadow, but instead, he might have just set fire to his own career. Remy Ma, a woman who has survived prison, public beefs, and industry politics, now faces something far more dangerous: humiliation from within her own circle. And 50 Cent? He's once again positioned himself as the center of the storm, not just a player, but the force shaping the entire narrative. This isn't just another messy hip-hop scandal. This is betrayal, this is chaos, this is scorched earth, and the aftershocks are only just beginning. Because in hip-hop, loyalty is currency, betrayal is poison, and perception is power. And right now, Easy, Remy, and 50 are all playing a very dangerous game where the winner doesn't just walk away with clout, they walk away with survival. So what happens next? Only time will tell. But one thing is certain, this isn't the end. It's just the opening act.